Whenever a business gains traction outside of China, it's almost inevitable that a Chinese clone of that company is created. Whether it's an Uber knockoff, a Google for China, or a Chinese Netflix, China's copycats actually make quite a lot of money. With the rise of Tesla and electric vehicles in general, many Chinese entrepreneurs are using this as an opportunity to copy Tesla. In this video, we're going to take a look at some Chinese Tesla clones and compare them to Tesla to see if they stand a chance. In 2014, two senior executives at the GAC Group, Henry Xia and He Tao, left GAC to start XPeng Motors. In an interview in 2018, Xiaopeng, the CEO, admitted to starting XPeng because Elon Musk made Tesla's patents available. After being founded, the company was funded by large Chinese companies including Alibaba, Foxconn, and IDG Capital. Another funding round in 2018 saw the vice chairman of Alibaba, Joseph Tsai, join the corporate board of XPeng Motors. After these two rounds of funding, XPeng Motors had a total of $500 million. By the time September came around, the hype on the company had reached all-time highs as the company had gotten a self-driving permit from the California DMV. In December 2018, the company launched the XPeng G3 SUV, a vehicle that ended up starting deliveries in the spring of 2019. The G3 SUV has an NEDC range of 221 miles and a 47 kWh battery pack. However, keep in mind that the NEDC's range test overestimates in comparison to the EPA range test. The vehicle also goes from 0 to 50 km per hour in 3.7 seconds, which translates to 0 to 31 miles per hour. All of this will cost $33,000 US, and after Chinese subsidies, cost $19,000 US. Needless to say, XPeng's first vehicle was a disappointment in comparison to Tesla. Nonetheless, the company continued to persist and may have taken it to the next level. In March of 2019, the XPeng head of perception, who is a former engineer of Tesla, was accused of stealing Autopilot source code. The former Tesla engineer admitted to downloading the Autopilot source code to his iCloud before airdropping it to his wife's laptop. After downloading the code, he deleted 120,000 files on his work computer, disconnected his personal iCloud, and deleted all his browsing history. Shortly after, the engineer, who was also a former Apple employee before Tesla, was spotted on Apple's campus leaving with a box of equipment. After that, he joined XPeng Motors and hired a Tesla employee who had also worked on the Autopilot source code. Tesla took the trouble to court, and the engineer claims that he deleted all the data prior to leaving Tesla, which I find incredibly suspicious. Nonetheless, there was no data that proved the engineer had the Autopilot source code and the case was settled. Shortly after, in May of 2019, XPeng officially launched its autonomous ride-sharing service in Guangzhou. 1 month later, XPeng released an electric sedan that had incredibly promising specs and features, named the XPeng P7. The XPeng P7 will come in two versions, the standard version and the long-range version. The standard version will have a starting price of $34,500 and have a range of 342 miles on the NEDC range cycle. The long-range version price is still unknown and will have a range of 404 miles. The vehicle will go from 0 to 100 km per hour in 4.3 seconds, which translates to 0 to 62 miles per hour. To put these specs in comparison with the Model 3, the Model 3 has an NEDC range that goes up to 419 miles, will go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, and cost $43,000 US in China. XPeng Motors also advertises that the P7 will have NVIDIA-powered Level 3 autonomy, which means that the vehicle will have conditional automation. Conditional automation is a level where the vehicle is able to reliably drive on its own on an ideal road. When that road is not ideal, the human driver is expected to take over. To put this into comparison, Teslas currently drive an autonomy level of 2, so XPeng is claiming a greater level of autonomy than that of Tesla. The P7 will supposedly start deliveries by Q2 of 2020, which means that we are beginning to reach the delivery phase. In November of 2019, XPeng started two more hefty funding rounds and raised over $800 million, allowing the company to reach a total valuation of $4 billion. In February of 2020, it was announced that XPeng's permit for self-driving in California was revoked because they weren't submitting a disengagement report, despite the California DMV constantly demanding for it. A disengagement is when the self-driving technology fails and the safety driver must take over. XPeng refused to submit a report on how often their vehicles disengaged, which I find extremely suspicious. Overall, the XPeng P7 has extremely promising specs, but the question is, will XPeng Motors be able to deliver on its promises? If any car manufacturer was a Tesla clone, Yuxia would be the one. In 2015, the then 28-year-old CEO of the company launched the Ranger X, which looks incredibly similar to the Tesla Model S. This Ranger X will have a range of 285 miles, have 348 horsepower, and go from 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds. However, these specs are not the impressive part about it. It is the price. The Ranger X will cost just $30,000. However, I have a lot of suspicions about the Ranger X. First of all, the logo looks extremely similar to Tesla's, almost as if the CEO just molded the logo of Tesla's. Not only that, but the display looks incredibly similar to the Model S, with the dimensions being exactly 17 inches. At the Ranger X reveal, the company promised to show the vehicle, but a closer look at the vehicle shows that it was a reverse-engineered Tesla Model S. Cars News China did a comparison to the Tesla Model S and found that the wheelbase, the door pillars, and the interior that nobody was allowed to look into were all the same. Despite this, the company is currently valued at $3.3 billion. BAIC, or the Beijing Automotive Industry Company, is a Chinese-based company that, unlike the others on this list, actually has sales. In the year of 2018, the company actually generated $4 billion in revenue from electric vehicles. These sales primarily came from the BAIC's cheap electric vehicles. In 2018, BAIC launched a small SUV named the EX360 along with a sedan named the EU5. The EX360 costs just under $12,000 after government subsidies and has an NEDC 203 mile range with a 48 kilowatt-hour battery. The EU5, on the other hand, costs $19,000 after subsidies and boasts an NEDC range of 354 miles with a 60.2 kilowatt-hour battery. This vehicle will go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, or roughly 0 to 62 miles per hour in 8 seconds. Clearly, the manufacturer can compete with Tesla when it comes to price, but not quality. Let me know what you think about these Chinese copycats in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Also, please consider supporting me on Patreon in the description below. I appreciate your support.